All right. So it's 12:01, so let's just go ahead and get started. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Matthew Fulse. We'll be presenting today Retractions, Reputations, and Responsibility, Safeguarding Integrity in Academic Health Research. I'm the Scholarly Communications Librarian, and I'll be co-presenting with my colleague, Dr. Julie Schiavo, the Assistant Director of the Dental Library. Just so everybody's aware, this information session is being recorded and will be uploaded afterwards to the Open Access Month Research Guide on our website, the Library Presentations and Digital Scholar, and eventually our YouTube channel. All right, so let's just jump right into it. What is scientific integrity? Well, this definition comes from the Department of Health and Human Services in its Scientific Integrity Policy Memo. The contents of that memo were adopted on October 16th, 2024, so almost exactly 1 year ago. It emphasizes the importance of best professional practices while engaging in ethical behavior and aiming to be as honest and objective as possible. These are all necessary principles to employ while conducting, managing, or communicating the results of scientific work, especially scholarly work meant for policy or peer-reviewed publications. Additionally, being transparent and safeguarding yourself from inappropriate influence and behavior are what we should all aspire to. So, the Department of Health and Human Services have an Office of Research Integrity, which originally created this policy memo. The HHS defines research integrity as being an honest and transparent individual while engaging in best verifiable practices. This includes reviewing and evaluating others' research as well. Also ensuring that researchers are following recommended guidelines, rules, and other regulations commonly accepted in their professional disciplines. So the Office of Science and Technology Policy originally defined research misconduct well over 25 years ago in 1999 with an effective policy date in the year 2000. The definition since then hasn't changed all that much, and they define research misconduct as any fabrication, falsification, or plagiarism involved in proposing, performing, or evaluating research. Research misconduct is not any time a researcher makes an honest error or exposes differences of opinion within the scientific community. Uh, it is known that researchers have accused their peers of possible misconduct, so it should only be levied for serious accusations. Errors themselves can stem from negligence and maladherence to best practices and norms, which are still serious ethical issues, which should have serious consequences. However, determining intent is the crux of the issue between ignorance or negligence and willful misbehavior. So the ORI within the HHS defines fabrication as making up data or results and recording or reporting them in research. Falsification is the manipulation of materials, equipment, or processes not in line with the best practices or guidelines within a given discipline or organization. This can include omitting data or otherwise changing data so that the research is not accurately represented. And plagiarism is one of the most common acts of misconduct and is the appropriation of another person's ideas, processes, results, or words without giving credit. Additionally, there are some other questionable research practices listed here. Copycat studies is a form of plagiarism where you attempt to rewrite another work and pass it off as new or original research. This has become far more common with modern AI tools. Additionally, there are something called least publishable units, aka salami slicing. This is considered misconduct because it is when researchers sort of divvy up the body of their research into as many publishable works as possible. So it is generally seen as artificially inflating an author's quantity of their publications or their number of published works. And this is generally seen as relatively common in biomedical and other scientific literature. So finally, we also have duplicate submissions or duplicate publications. These are when authors submit almost the exact same work to multiple different journals that don't have the ability to sort of cross-reference each other. So we kind of talked about and defined what misconduct and integrity means in the history of those terms. So we thought it was important to include what is a common definition of authorship for clarity. The ICMJE, or the International Committee of Medical Journal Editors, provide 4 essential criteria to define what an author is. An author has provided or could be credited as a co-author for providing substantial contributions to concept, design, or data of a research project. They provide critical input for drafting or reviewing what will be a scholarly work. They either have approval of a final manuscript or oversight in that submission process, or are otherwise accountable for accuracy and results of that published work. For example, if you're managing a lab and employees engage in misconduct, you could be held liable even if you did not have direct oversight of the work, even if you just provided funding, as you have a duty to ensure the quality of the final product. And now that we've sort of defined what authorship is, what research integrity is, and what misconduct is, I'm going to be handing it off to my colleague, Julie, who's going to provide more insight into the bigger picture of the industry, your responsibility, and even more about retractions.
Hey, hello everyone. We're going to start talking here about what are paper mills. Paper mills are a relatively new phenomenon in publishing and research. Their purpose is to profit from the creation, sale, peer review, or citation of manuscripts which contain low value or fraudulent content, authorship, or fraudulent aim in publication of scholarly journals. Paper mills generally will work with predatory publishers, but not always. In the past, paper mills have focused on creating papers. So you could contact a paper mill and tell them what you wanted a paper on, and they would create it for you and then send it to you. However, now they are focused more on getting work, especially work that is of low quality, out and published for public consumption. Predatory publishing, real quick, a definition is a predatory publisher is a publisher that their whole aim is to profit off of scientific publications without holding up good, high quality peer review and publication standards. So these are the type of publishers that will publish anything that is sent to them without providing peer review. There is a group called United to Act Against Paper Mills that is doing work to educate and provide more information to authors about paper mills and try to steer them away from using them. Research integrity is a global issue. It is, it's very common with researchers all over. Anywhere that research is conducted, research misconduct does happen. A large percentage of scientists admitted that they have fabricated, falsified, or modified data at least once in their career. And 33.7% admitted other questionable research practices, such as salami slicing an article or sending an article to more than one publisher to potentially be published. According to this study, up to 72% of scientists had admitted to some sort of questionable research practices. This could also include authorship if a paper includes someone listed as an author who did not actually fulfill all 4 of those requirements that the LCJME requires to be named an author. There are practices such as giving honorary authorships or just providing an authorship credit to someone who you want, who perhaps it is your research mentor, and you want to give them authorship credit, whereas they did not actually participate in the writing or the or oversight of the research. There has been a significant increase in the number of authors per journal article in the past few years. So it's likely that that is becoming a real issue. Well, who is responsible for research integrity? Well, everyone is responsible for research integrity. Institutions should provide training and they should provide oversight to their authors while they are working on publishing something. Supervisors and mentors also should provide training, and they should provide good, high quality mentorship to help their junior colleagues as they navigate the publication process. Authors and colleagues, obviously, they should seek out knowledge and provide that they are not participating in any type of questionable research practice. This could be this could be by looking for training in some way or looking for a mentor who is actually going to mentor them. And then finally, journals and publishers should should watch for questionable research practices in articles that have been submitted to them, and also watch for things like paper mill activity or predatory publishing. So what are some of the consequences of academic misconduct? Well, they are very wide and varied. It could be losing funding or a position. I think we've all heard recently of people losing positions in academia because things like their dissertation was found to be plagiarized or to have some sort of intentional fabrication of data. Academic misconduct can damage future research potential. The authors can have a hard time once they are shown to have participated in some type of misconduct. It will be harder for them to find other collaborators and other people to do the research or people to trust their research. It can damage institutional reputation if an institution is known for producing falsified studies. It will damage their reputation. Also, it can negatively affect public policy and decision making. If fabricated and falsified studies become part of the academic conversation, it can affect the way decision makers decide about things and possibly having public policy based on falsified research. So, how is this addressed? Well, it's addressed partly through retractions. Retractions are when a peer reviewed published article is pulled from circulation by the publisher. It's not inherently punitive. They are designed essentially to uphold the integrity of the literature and keep the scientific conversation based on the best evidence. With retractions, the trustworthiness of science should be held as a paramount concern. Why would there be retractions? Well, retractions are generally caused by some type of discovery of the evidence of errors in a paper, some type of irregularities in data or in figures or images, a misrepresentation of findings. If a study cannot be replicated, they will often look at the data, the figures, the research methods to see if there were any unethical practices. Also, an article may be retracted because of compromised peer review. If it's shown that the peer reviewers had a conflict of interest with the authors of the study, or if it was shown that they did not provide a high quality peer review. And then finally is undisclosed conflict of interest. It is, a retraction may happen if it is discovered that an author is working for a company and that article is written about that company's product, for example. There are groups out there that make it a practice to look at articles and try to discover evidence of errors or irregularities. There is one, Retraction Watch. It's retractionwatch.com. There's a link to it in the references for this presentation. And what they do is they post articles that someone believes may have some sort of irregularities. And people will read the article and try to determine if the article should be retracted or not. Also, another thing with retractions that is new, this is just new in the past few years, is it's becoming more commonplace for someone who calls out an irregularity in an article to be credited for what they did. For a long time, the person who called it out was kept anonymous or as anonymous as possible. But that is becoming more common, that you'll see an author, a journal say, this article was retracted due to these reasons, and we thank this particular person for making us aware of this issue. That is generally done with the consent of the person who called for the retraction. Sometimes, unfortunately, it is not. Okay. So these are the references. If you have any questions about anything that came up in the study, you can read our references if you decide to. We're librarians, so we always have to have references, right? So does anyone have any questions? Let's see, I can, let's see. There we go, okay.
It's kind of a long question.
Okay.
If a paper cites a paper that then turns out to be retracted, does that call into question the integrity of the second paper? Because maybe at the time people didn't know, because there's a window. So, like, can you rely and trust an article that has cited a retracted paper?
Um, yeah, okay. Come talk. Yeah.
So I don't know if everybody heard that question, but if someone cited a retracted paper,
Still not hear the microphone.
I figured I would yell loud enough people would hear me. But so I guess the question was, if someone cites a retracted paper, what is the trustworthiness of that paper going forward? I think it's tough. I think it depends on how central it is to validating the methods and the findings of the research. If it's just about talking about sort of the history of development, like in an about section or something, but if it's like crucial to like the methods and findings of the paper, I would sort of have to look at it from that point of view. And whether or not the paper has at some point been retracted and then republished is also something that happens. I've seen that before as well. In some journals, they've posted like a little thing that says like, some of the citations for this have been retracted, or some of the citations for this have been retracted and republished. So that's ways that journals and publishers can communicate that information that I've seen. But like, so I would just say like, is it sort of a paper just about loosely the topic in general, that's sort of informing a reader, or is it really central to the core like validity or scientific findings? So that's sort of, it's really only a question subject matter experts can rightly solve. Yeah. But if I was a layperson, I would probably just try to find a better source. You know, if I'm educating myself or learning, or like an undergrad student, I don't know, yeah. But a good question. No, it's a tough, it's a tough situation. Yeah.